My fiancée cheated and said I'd never find someone like her. A year later, I'm dating a model who had a crush on me since high school. It all started with a text message, a single, gut-wrenching notification that blew my world apart. I remember staring at my phone, the screen illuminating a conversation that wasn't meant for my eyes. It was Sarah, my fiancée, the woman I'd planned to spend the rest of my life with, and the words she exchanged with someone else were like daggers to my heart. The explanations that followed were a blur of clichés and weak justifications, but the reality was stark: she had cheated. The argument that ensued was volcanic. Tears streamed down my face, a mix of rage and profound sadness. And then she said it, the words that would echo in my mind for months: "You'll never find someone like me. You're lucky I even gave you the time of day." It was cruel, designed to break what little spirit I had left, and for a while, it worked. The apartment we'd shared suddenly felt cavernous and cold. Every corner held a memory, now tainted. The first few weeks were a haze of sleepless nights, barely touched meals, and an overwhelming sense of worthlessness. Her voice, dripping with that venomous parting shot, was on a constant loop. Was she right? Would I be alone forever, haunted by the ghost of a future that would never be? I threw myself into work, hoping to numb the pain with spreadsheets and deadlines, but the evenings were the hardest. The silence in the apartment was deafening. Friends tried to pull me out, suggesting nights out, new hobbies, anything to distract me. I appreciated their efforts, but the thought of trying to connect with someone new felt impossible. The shadow of Sarah's betrayal loomed large, making me question everyone's intentions, including my own judgment. About 6 months post-breakup, I started to feel a flicker of my old self returning. I began hitting the gym regularly, not for revenge, but for my own sanity. The physical exertion was a release, and slowly, the fog in my mind began to clear. I reconnected with old college buddies, went on a couple of awkward, forgettable dates, and even started tentatively exploring hobbies I'd put on hold during my relationship. One Saturday, I was at a local art fair, trying to appreciate the creativity around me, when I heard a familiar laugh. My stomach dropped. It was Sarah. She was with the guy from the messages, looking infuriatingly happy. For a moment, I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. But then, something shifted. Instead of the usual wave of despair, a different emotion surfaced: indifference, with a slight hint of pity for her new beau. He had no idea. I managed a polite, almost breezy nod in her direction when she spotted me. Her eyes widened for a split second, perhaps surprised I wasn't a blubbering mess. That small, almost imperceptible victory felt monumental. As I walked away, her cutting words echoed again: "You'll never find someone like me." But this time, a new thought followed: maybe that's a good thing. The universe, it seems, has a twisted sense of humor and an even better sense of timing. A few months after that art fair encounter, I was at my friend Mark's birthday party. It was a pretty standard affair: loud music, slightly too strong punch, and a crowd of vaguely familiar faces. I was leaning against a wall, nursing a drink and trying to look approachable, when someone tapped my shoulder. I turned, and my jaw nearly hit the floor. It was Maya. Maya, who I hadn't seen since high school, nearly a decade ago. Back then, she was the quiet, artistic girl who always had a sketchbook in hand. I'd always thought she was cute, in an understated way, but we ran in different circles. Now, she was stunning. Like, runway model stunning. She had this incredible confidence about her, a warm smile, and eyes that seemed to sparkle. "Alex," she asked, her voice as smooth as I remembered, though now with an added layer of self-assuredness. "Maya. Wow, it's been ages." "You look amazing," I stammered, feeling like a clumsy teenager all over again. We started talking, and it was surprisingly easy. We reminisced about awkward high school moments, caught up on the intervening years, and laughed a lot. She told me she'd moved back to the city recently after a stint modeling overseas. Then, out of nowhere, she dropped the bombshell. She said, a playful glint in her eye, I had the biggest crush on you in high school. I nearly choked on my drink. Me? The guy who spent most of high school trying to figure out how to talk to girls without his voice cracking? No way, I said, disbelieving. Seriously, she insisted, laughing. I used to draw pictures of you in my sketchbook. Super embarrassing, I know. The rest of the evening felt like a dream. We talked for hours, discovering a surprising number of shared interests beyond our shared, albeit one-sided back then, high school experience. There was an undeniable spark, a genuine connection that felt worlds away from the forced pleasantries of the dates I'd been on. When she suggested we grab dinner sometime, I tried to play it cool, but inside, I was doing cartwheels. Our first date was incredible. We went to this little Italian place she knew, and the conversation flowed as easily as the wine. She was funny, intelligent, and refreshingly down-to-earth, despite her glamorous career. She listened intently when I talked, asked thoughtful questions, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me, the real me, not just some idealized version. Over the next few weeks, things progressed naturally. We went on hikes, explored new cafes, had movie marathons, and just enjoyed each other's company. The more time I spent with Maya, the more Sarah's bitter words faded into insignificance. Maya wasn't like Sarah at all. Maya was kind, respectful, and made me feel seen and appreciated in a way I hadn't realized I was missing. One evening, we were walking by the river, the city lights reflecting on the water, when she stopped and turned to me. Alex, she began, a little nervously, there's something I probably should have told you sooner. My heart did a little flip. Here we go, I thought, the inevitable catch. That art fair a few months back, she continued. The one where you saw your ex? I was there too. I blinked, surprised. You were? I didn't see you. She smiled, a little shyly. I saw you. And I saw her. And honestly, the way you handled yourself, the way you just nodded and walked away with your head held high, that's when I knew I had to find a way to talk to you again. My high school crush came roaring back, but this time, it felt like it was for the adult you've become. I was speechless. All this time, I thought our meeting at Mark's party was pure serendipity. Turns out, Maya had orchestrated it, ever so subtly. She'd asked Mark about me after the art fair, found out he was a mutual friend, and made sure she was at his party. It wasn't a manipulative move, it was just intentional. And incredibly flattering. A few weeks later, we were at a charity gala. Maya looked absolutely breathtaking in a floor-length gown, and I felt like the luckiest guy in the world with her on my arm. Across the crowded room, I saw a familiar face. Sarah. She was with the same guy, but this time, she didn't look so smug. Her eyes locked onto mine, then darted to Maya, then back to me. The shock on her face was palpable. She looked us up and down, a flicker of something unreadable in her expression, disbelief? Envy? I didn't dwell on it. I just smiled, a genuine, happy smile, squeezed Maya's hand, and turned my attention back to the incredible woman beside me. Later that night, Maya and I were looking out over the city from her apartment balcony. I said, thinking back to that horrible day a year ago, my ex once told me I'd never find anyone like her. Maya turned to me, her eyes soft. Well, she said, leaning in and kissing me gently. She was right about one thing. I raised an eyebrow. Oh? You didn't, Maya whispered, her smile radiant. You found someone so much better. And in that moment, with the city lights twinkling below and Maya in my arms, I knew she was absolutely right. The pain of the past had finally given way to a future I never could have imagined, a future that was brighter, kinder, and infinitely more exciting. And it all started because a girl from my past decided to act on a high school crush, proving that sometimes, the most unexpected turns lead to the most beautiful destinations. Sarah thought she was irreplaceable, a unique tormentor I'd never escape. What she didn't count on was that her departure would clear the path for someone who not only saw my worth but had been quietly admiring it from afar for years. It turns out, losing what I thought I wanted was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it led me to Maya, a woman who didn't just fill a space, but created an entirely new, wonderful world for us both. And the look on Sarah's face at that gala? Priceless. Absolutely priceless.